Hello, I'm Mac, at least for a day, and everything's going to be okay. It's time for another episode of Reading Your Comments. This will likely be the final episode because I've run out of comments, and I apologize if I didn't read your comment. I tried to read everybody's, but the order of the comments kept changing each day I did this, and it's likely that some comments I didn't read got mixed into the group and I didn't spot it. So I apologize if I didn't read your comment, but I tried to read all of them. At the end of today, I'll be asking why do we love No Man's Sky so much. So that'll be my final word, final little talk that you can comment your answers about. But quick disclaimer, everybody whose YouTube ID I show in this video consented to letting me show their ID because I made it clear in the video they commented on that that is what I was going to be doing. Alright, so first is Illogic001. This is a long list, I'm just going to paraphrase them. So the end of the construction limit, 2 more and better sea creatures, 3 water overhaul, 4 open up the files and give us more decorations, 5 ability to own larger air companions, space bases. I'm okay with owning space stations, but I'd rather people building their own space stations with dedicated building parts. Speaking of fleets, space combat updates so it's more comparable to what we saw in the 2016 trailer. A couple new biomes to keep us exploring. 9 better uses for units and our goods. 10 better hand function in VR. All really good ideas. The one I'm going to comment is the space station building one. I've talked before that freighter bases are basically space station bases, but the thing that I think people are trying to say when they say they want to build a space station is building the exterior, spacewalking and building out in space, I think is what people are wanting, because building in an interior like the inside of a freighter isn't interesting. You can't even tell you're out in space. So I think it would be really cool if they built it so that we can build out while we're spacewalking, like on a frigate. You can walk on the outside of a frigate and see things, but it would be really cool if we could build outside of an area that you're basically spacewalking and you can build out there and build a space base like that. That would be really cool. It'd be kind of like an underwater base where when you're out in space, maybe you're losing a lot of life support, but then there's like sealed hollow doors that are like airlocks that you can go through to get inside, and then you aren't losing your life support anymore because you're not in the vacuum of space. But anyway, that's an idea bouncing off of his. Player 1 says, I'd like new Sentinel units to fight, like maybe heavy tank Sentinel or elite humanoid Sentinel that can jetpack and have the same utilities as the player. Yeah, we've talked about how new types of Sentinels could be added, like there could be a smaller humanoid version, kind of like the Exomech, except it'd be a Sentinel, and also Sentinel spiders that we talked about before that would be really cool. Nad here says, he has a long list too, which I'll paraphrase. I'd love to see ship interiors, 2 minor settlements, kind of like Tatooine, 3 EVA, the ability to float in space, also builds bases in space. 4, probably never going to get this, but the ability to see the star you're visiting, like fly up to the star, I think he means. 5, better space combat and more control over my ship. 6, better water and sea life. 7, multi-biomed planet types. 8, landing on asteroids and the ability to build bases on them. 9, flyable frigates. So the thing I'll talk about is flying close to the star. The reason we can't fly to the star is because the star is just an image that moves around the skybox to create the illusion of a day-night cycle. So we couldn't fly close to it because it's on the star box and it just glitches out your game if you fly towards it. They would have to completely change the game to have planet rotation, which is something many people still want. I don't think it's needed or feasible, but a lot of people still want planet rotation. If they added planet rotation, then we would have an actual star in the center of the system instead of a fake one rotating around the system. But, so yeah, we won't be able to ever fly to the star unless they redo everything and create planet rotation. Raymil Nurkhurst says, Flora Fauna update, bigger herds of animals, smarter animals, new types of animals, and he talks about more animal stuff, and then better water graphics, waterfall, big geysers, more types of trees, more biomes, animals that are big should move slow, freighters moving, yeah. So a lot of cool ideas there that we've discussed. Obviously we want more animal variety, and we really want better looking water, better water physics, and things like that. We'll see if we get those, hopefully. Plo617 says, I think there are 3 things that this game needs. First, it needs a space overhaul. Currently, every planet in the star system is facing the same side of their star. That's not true. The star, like I just said earlier, the star rotates around the skybox. So the planets aren't all facing the star the same way because the star moves around it. Not sure what he means by that because we have a day-night cycle. But yeah, we don't want to have it be a skybox anymore. It can make star systems vastly more explorable. Yeah. So he mostly talks about rotation and then combat overhaul. Yep, everybody wants a combat overhaul. And an AI overhaul. So better alien NPCs, better Sentinel AI, better wildlife AI, etc. Cool. Yep, good ideas. Robo Vader says, I would like procedural outposts and dungeons to clear, also plenty of new enemy types, no drones, and proper bounty hunter missions planet side, so I can finally roleplay as the Mandalorian. Yep, all things that we've talked about, but would definitely be great additions to the game. Crenton says, I would like to add a whole freighter to my fleet so I can store 6 ships in it and have extra ships in my main freighter. You know, when you go to a freighter out of a bind, there's always another freighter in their fleet. Yeah, so having multiple freighters, that's a really cool idea. I guess you would either call your one of your freighters and then all your other freighters would also appear. This would allow us to have multiple ships, like even more ships. Currently we can have 6 ships, but if we could have like 3 freighters in our fleet, then we could have 18 ships, which would be really cool. So yeah, I'd like that. I don't know if they'll do that. It would also maybe allow us to have more frigates. We originally thought we were going to be able to have 50 frigates, but it ended up being only 30. So they don't have to give us 90 frigates, but they could increase freighters to 3 and increase frigates to 50. I think that would be nice, but who knows what they'll do. Dakota1022 says, you may use my name, so it probably won't happen because it's ambitious. An update where you get to own and customize your own planet. Hear me out. There are several planets that you come across barren and void of life. Okay, so yeah, he's talking about the idea of terraforming. That's something that people have talked about some. We don't really talk about it much anymore, but it's definitely a cool idea where you would go to a empty planet and you can build some kind of terraforming thing, or maybe there would be a special machine that you would find on the planet because building one is just too powerful. You'd have to find one built by an ancient alien race. But if you could find this special device Like every empty planet would have one. And if you find this super alien device, it would allow you to edit the planet, add life, add plants, customize the color of everything, the textures of everything, the biome, the hazards, etc. It would basically be an Atlas thing, because the Atlas created the universe. It would be possible to use the Atlas's power to edit a planet. I don't know if Hello Games will ever do that, because it could mess up the procedural generation, but it would be really cool if we could get terraforming in the game. Water Bears says, I don't really expect this in the update, but at some point, hopefully, better ruins, multi-biome planets, harder combat, bigger space station interiors, better larger forests, primitive intelligent aliens. Okay, the one there I'd like to talk about is primitive alien life. That is something that I've thought about for a while. It would be so cool, instead of always just finding technologically advanced settlements that are, made of metal and have a landing pad, we could also find settlements of creatures, or not creatures, but I guess they'd be people, aliens, that have tents and rudimentary technology like spears and things like that. Some of them could be aggressive. They would attack you because they're afraid of you, or they might get scared and run away, or they might be peaceful and you could talk to them. They'd be NPCs that would have very rudimentary language, and you could converse and maybe trade some very simple elements with them and stuff like that. That would be super cool. It would make a lot of sense. It doesn't make sense that the Korvax, Viking, and Gek are the only races in the universe, and they're all technologically advanced in space, and all the other creatures are just dumb animals that don't have any technology. It would make a lot more sense if we could find primitive alien races. In the lore, it talks about another alien race that doesn't exist now that got smart enough, they started to make space travel, and the Sentinels tried to prevent them, and so they started fighting the Sentinels, and the Sentinels wiped them out. So it'd be cool if they would build on that and allow other alien races to exist that are primitive and exist on planets. They'd have to be procedurally generated, because they couldn't be the same race on different planets because they don't have space travel yet. So you'd have different humanoid races that you would meet up on some different planets. Otto has a pretty long suggestion. I'm going to paraphrase. The Collector's Update. Bigger spaceship variety. Explorer, Fighter, and Hauler nerfs. Explorer, less inventory space. Fighter, less technology slots. Hauler, less technology slots. Interesting. Shuttle buff. Shuttles would have more technology slots. Shuttles now feature an interior base in the size of a freighter base room. Whoa. I would definitely like an improvement to the shuttles. I'll talk about that more in a little bit. Exocraft also added. Exocraft is basically a race car. Racetracks would be able to force you to a specific exocraft, as well as good racetrack fix. To claim a star. Yeah, he talked about claiming a star. Freighter dungeon updates. Improved generation. It's a really long post. He's near the bottom of the comments if you want to go to the video. I'll put a link to the title in a pinned comment so that you can go back and look at anything I didn't read. But yeah, really long thing here. I'm just going to talk about the shuttle buff. Shuttles are something that they haven't really touched in ages. The only thing that's changed about shuttles is that we can now increase their inventory slots and technology slots, which makes them slightly... Oh, and also their class, which makes them slightly more useful. But even if you turn them into S rank, shuttles have extremely low stats compared to all other ships. It would be nice if they would buff them and give them some kind of specialization that the other ships don't have, so that they would be a viable thing. Because otherwise they're just junk ships that make the other ships more rare. It'd be better if every type of ship was useful in its own way, and shuttles would actually be something you would want to use. Last of all is Rilo704. I think, yep, his is also, oh, not too long. Total overhaul of quest and NPC interactions, larger, more populated NPC structures, updated ship designs with functional differences, freighter mission update, fix an audio issue on Xbox Series X, economy rework, combat system overhaul, add NPC settlements, random encounters, overhaul for interesting random events. We've talked about pretty much all those except the random event encounters. Random event encounters with NPCs on planets are super rare. You pretty much only get them at crashed ships, although they can exist other places, but it's so rare you hardly even notice that it's a feature in the game. I would like more frequent encounters with NPCs, and like he says, an improvement to the events, like different things that will happen. Kind of like maybe in Skyrim and other Elder Scrolls games where you encounter a couple people on the road and they're fighting, like a Viking and a Get could be fighting each other and you could choose sides. I don't think they want to give us the ability to kill NPCs, but that's an idea they could do if they change their mind about that. But any other kind of new missions and more frequent NPC encounters would be great. Alright, that's it for the comments. Again, I'm sorry if I didn't read yours. I want to talk a little bit about why do we love No Man's Sky so much? So, I was thinking about this, and it's hard to say why No Man's Sky is so popular. Part of it is just the hype before the game came out. People got really hyped because Sony was advertising it, but lots of games get tons of advertising, and only some of them get really popular. If you have tons of advertising money, you can make just about anything popular, but No Man's Sky, although it was advertised, it didn't have tons of money to do that. It was mostly free advertising where different channels would feature them. Sony promoted it to some degree, but there's definitely something really special about No Man's Sky that made people like it so much. Obviously, the early trailers that looked so good contributed to its popularity. And then the negative press that came out when it launched also made it more popular. But regardless of all that, there are people that love this game so much, and we always continue to get hyped about new updates for it, even 5 years after it came out. So what is it that makes No Man's Sky so special? I'm going to give my answer, and you all can give your answers in the comments. But I think it's that, obviously it's procedurally generated. I think it's that every playthrough of No Man's Sky is different. No matter how many times you replay it, you're always on a different planet. You always have slightly different experience with different encounters. Different things come up. It keeps the game fresh to the point that anytime they add some new features, if they add enough of them, it's worth it to play them multiple times because you're going to have a different experience every time. And starting the game out fresh after they've added tons of new features is always awesome because it's like playing a new game. Obviously, there's some things that are repetitive that you're used to, but it's still like playing a new game in a way because it's going to be a largely different experience. Even doing the same things, you'll be doing them in a different location with different visuals, different things that happen to you, etc. So that, I think, is the beauty of No Man's Sky, is the procedural generation that makes everything unique no matter how many times you do it, and adding new features just multiplies that enjoyment so that you can continue to enjoy it over and over and over. So tell me what you think. Why is No Man's Sky so great? Why do we love it so much? And that does it for the Reading Your Comments series. I'll probably do one of these once a year right before the anniversary update. But anyway, I had to end this sooner than I thought because I ran out of comments. It's Thursday when I'm making this, and that's when I'll upload it. So But I think something else is coming up soon, and I'll do another video today that will talk about what I think is about to happen based on some evidence. But anyway, that does it for now. I have been Mac. Thank you for joining me for a day, and remember, everything's going to be okay. Special thanks to my monthly supporters, Shannon and Jeremy, Shell Owens, JSpot51, Meg Payton. Thank you so much for helping me continue to make daily content.